Hello, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Kem Chu Kasakai. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Insight Generator. Power up your data insight. So, guys, I'm just right back with one more video, and this video is going to be very much important for all the Power BI developers, report developers, all the dashboard developers, right? And this is often a major concerns for all these business analysts and this report developers, right, who uses this Power BI tool, that how to have a clear understanding of this DAX function. So here is the end-to-end solutions. Don't worry, I will start this topic right from the scratches, right? So let me just quick recap, guys, what we have covered in my previous video. So in my previous video, we have seen the data modeling, right? How to build the relationship among the queries, and what is DAX, what is primary key, what is foreign key, what is star schema, snowflake schema, and the comparison between. So in this video, we are just going to see the DAX functions only. So before jumping onto this topic, I will request you guys, please like, share, subscribe my channel, and just don't forget to hit the bell icon so that if I update any videos, you guys will stay updated, right? So in order to understand this DAX function right from the beginning till the end, I have prepared some PPTs for you, and I think that will help you understand in very clear ways. And I'll also show you the live demonstrations how you can understand the DAX function in a different ways. So let me just go back to this first this PPT, guys. You can see what is DAX functions for. So every BI tool uses their own what to say languages, right, in order to write some queries. If I say Excel as an example, in Excel you might have used this nested formula, you might have used some aggregate functions, you might have used some logical functions to write your Excel formula, and then you do some calculations, perform some calculations. So just like this Excel, we also have one of the standard language in Power BI that's called DAX function, data analysis expressions. So what is DAX function? Let's understand this. DAX function is just a native language, and it's a queries provided by this Microsoft, and it is just a combinations, right? In Excel sheet, what you actually use in this formula, you use some operators, you use some functions, you use some values, right? And then you create a formula. So it is just like this Excel formula as well. This DAX function is the combinations of the functions and the combination of what to say, the operators and the values and the constant. Values and constants are nothing but like any numerical values like 1, 2, 3, 4, anything. So don't worry, I will show you live what is this. So it is highly versatile and functional language designed to work with related data. Why I'm using this term related data? Because here we have some connections between the two table, between the two queries, and those queries are now interrelated, and that is why I have used this related data and perform dynamic calculations. So what is dynamic calculation? We will also show you, and I will show you live like how it is dynamic and how it is static, right? So DAX is basically the library of functions, operators, and values or the constants that is combined to build the formulas and expressions in the Power BI. It is also used in analysis service and Power Pivot, right, in Excel for the data modelings. So now I'm just moving on to this next slide. What formula, what queries do you write in the DAX functions first? So let's understand the DAX functions clearly. So guys, using this DAX functions, what are you going to create ultimately? What are you going to calculate ultimately? So we using this DAX function, we can calculate three things, three different things. One is calculated table. You are going to build this entire table using this DAX function. I will show you how will you do that, right? So one is this your calculated table. Second is your calculated columns. This is the single column. This is a single column within a queries, right? And how do you create a column? Because sometimes what happens, the columns that you have within a query or within a table might not be sufficient enough to do some analysis, right? So as per your requirement, as per your desire, you create your own columns for your own convenient and the analysis part. So the column that you are going to create, you will be using some DAX functions to create this column, right? And that is what this calculated column is all about. And now this is measures. What is measures? I will also show you. What are the differences between this all calculated table, calculated column, and the measures? Let's understand this. When you write a formula, DAX formula, in order to calculate a calculated table, it will return a table. It is not going to return a single scalar values. It is not going to return you a column completely. It will return you a table, right? And that is what this calculated table is all about. When you will write a DAX formula in order to calculate columns, so it will return a complete column. It is not going to return a complete table. It will return you a complete column, and that's what I have written. It returns column. What about the measures? Measures is something that returns you a single scalar value, single scalar values. Understand this. What is the single scalar values? It means it will give you just one numerical values, right? Suppose if you want to find the sum of the total sales, right? For the different regions. So you will simply use some aggregate function sum, and it will finally add all the sales values, and it will give you single scalar values. What are the total sales actually? Apart from this, I have mentioned few terminologies here, like what is row context and what is this filter context. Let's understand this. Calculated column is based on this row context, and measure is based on this filter context. What is this row context and what is this filter context? Let's understand this. So in order to make you understand what is row context and the filter context, let me just go back to an Excel sheet where I have a table of the students, right? It means first understand what is the row context. Row context in the sense, when you do the calculations for every single rows, for every single records in a query, within a queries, right? Then that's called row context. It means it will just act as an iterator function. It will iterate through every single record, and then it will do the calculations for every single record, not for all the records just in one go. So again, let me go back to that presentations here. If you see, the measure is further bifurcated into two. One is the implicit function, another one is explicit function. What is this implicit function and what is this explicit function? Let me tell you. Implicit function is something which is inbuilt functions. We don't create this inbuilt functions, right? And the another one is explicit function. Explicit something some function is something that user creates, that developer of the report creates for your own convenience, right? And that is what the implicit and explicit function is all about. As I said you, what is this calculated filter context and this row context? So let's understand this first. So I am going here into this table. I have a table where I have this name of the students, and this is the college where they belong, and this is the degree they have, and they have scored the different marks in the different subjects, in marks in psychology, marks in mathematics, marks in accounts, and here is the total marks. Now I want to calculate the total marks for all the students. How much score they have, what to say, scored out of this entire subjects. So I will simply use this sum formula, and then I will do this calculations for the first record, and then I will do the same thing for the second record as well, right? And likewise I will simply just drag and drop. It means ultimately I'm going to do the calculations for every single records, right? If I want to do the calculations for Oxford, this is also Oxford, this student also belongs to Oxford, this student also belongs to Oxford, but no matter whether these two students belongs to Oxford, if I need to calculate the total marks, I will have to calculate individually, even for the Oxford, no matter. So this is the row context, because it is going to every single record, every single row one by one, and then it is calculating this total marks. It is going to this next row and it is calculating this total marks. This is my row context. It means my calculated column. This total marks is my calculated column that I have calculated right now. And these tables, these columns are the part of the original table, that we have not created anything. I have simply created a column of total marks where I have applied some aggregate functions of sum, and I have calculated this for every single records. This is called the row context actually, right? When I will apply the filter, if I will apply the filter on any of the employee, any of the student, it will give me, suppose if I apply the filter on what to say, Oxford, you will see it will show me the calculations. Sorry, Oxford, let me just apply the filter. You will see that it will show me the total marks for all the students who belongs to Oxford. But suppose I want to calculate the total marks for all the students who belongs to the Oxford just in one go. So I'm going to create a measures for this one. Now you understood what is calculated column actually, and this calculated column is based on the row context because it does the calculations for every single row. Now let's understand what is this measure. As I mentioned here, it returns a single scalar values, right? So what is this measures first? Measures returns you single scalar values and it is based on this filter context. It means it will give you a result for a set of filters, for a set of data. It means, okay, let me apply for this. Suppose I'm going to apply some formula here, subtotal 9, and then I'm going to add all these total marks here, and that's all. The total marks, if I want to calculate the total marks for all the students, for all the colleges having all kind of degrees, I have this marks. Now my problem statement is I want the total marks only for the college Oxford. That's it, only for the college Oxford. So when I will go to the Oxford and when I apply the filter, now you will see, let me just go back. You simply need to focus on this total. You simply need to focus on this total, which is 3383. As soon as I apply the filter on Oxford, this calculation is going to change dynamically. Now see, now this total marks is only for this Oxford colleges. If you will add this total marks, you will be getting here 1249, which is my dynamic calculation, and that is the reasons I mentioned there. It performs dynamic calculations, and this is on filter context. Now I applied the filter on this Oxford, so this calculation is only for this Oxford. If you will apply the filters, if you apply the filters on Harvard, then apply this filter and now you focus on the calculation. The calculation will automatically change here, right? It means the measure is based on this filter context. It will return you the result based on the filter that you have applied, right? And that is what we have applied Harvard as a filter. Now this is the total marks only for this Harvard. Let me just clear this filter and let me apply the, I want to calculate the total marks for all the student who is having the degree bachelor's, right? So I'm going to apply the filter on bachelor. Now you see we have the total marks only for the bachelor students, right? Now you can see. So I hope you guys how this is dynamic calculation and it is quite simple. Okay, so I hope you understood what is row context and what is filter context here. Now I'm just what to say. Yeah, I want to now show you what is calculated table. You see we have few queries over here on the right hand side, and you see that these are the normal tables that I have not circled in a red rectangles. These are the original queries that we have extracted from the original sources. But if you see this calendar table in red rectangular shape, right? This table that I have calculated using this DAX functions, and you can see the difference between the symbol of the original table that we have extracted, that we have loaded, and the table that we have created. Actually you can see the symbol, there is a difference between the symbol. There is a small calculator sign and that represents this table has been calculated. It means this table has been created by the report developers, by the dashboard developers, right? And this is what calculated table looks like, and you can easily identify between this original table and this calculated table. Now how will you recognize this calculated column? So I'm moving on to the next slides. You will see, let's say this is a customer table. This is a customer table which contains this customer related informations, right? We already have few columns as a part of this original table. But if you see this domain ID, name and user ID, these three columns that user has created, the developer of the report has created these three columns. And you see the difference between the original table, like suppose education label is the original column of this original queries. We have not created this, we have created the name column, we have created this user ID, and we have created this domain ID. Now see, how will you recognize whether this column is a create calculated column or it's the original, right? So you see the symbol, Right in front of this education label, we don't have any symbol, but we have calculated this domain ID column. So you can see there is a symbol using fx, right? It means this one has been created by the user. You can see the column that we have created, and this is how you can just recognize which one is this calculated column. Now I am just moving on to this measures. How does a measure look like? The measure look like this one. Suppose I have created this four measures: number of products, return quantity, return rate percentage, and the total order. These are the measures, and you can see a small symbol of the calculators that will basically help you understand this is the measure that have been created. And what is the advantages of using this measure? Measure does not occupy any spaces, right? And it makes your user experiences, the end consumer experiences much better. And it is just the part of your report, not the part of your data view, not the part of your model views, right? But calculated column is something, when you create a calculated columns, it becomes the part of your table, and ultimately it is going to occupy some spaces and it will make your report more bulky. So it's my personal suggestion, avoid creating this calculated column until and unless it is highly recommended, until and unless it is highly required. Try to create the measures because both serves the same thing, right? I think you are very much clear about this DAX functions, what is calculated columns, what is calculated table, and what is measures, what is implicit and what is explicit. I have also shown you by the live demonstrations how what is row context, what is filter context. Let's understand this with one more thing. What is row context? So row context is created for each row of the table during this calculations, and it is used to evaluate these expressions at the row level. But filter context is a set of filters or the criteria that are applied to the data before calculations are performed. These filters can be due to the slicers, visuals, or any interactions. All right. Okay. How does a DAX function made up of? So let's understand this. In DAX function, as I said, it is the combinations of what to say. It is a combination of function. It is a combination of operators and some constant values, right? Let's see this. When you write a DAX function, this is a DAX function that I have written over here. Total sales I have to calculate, so I have used a function called sum, right? And this is a DAX function. So what is this total sales, sum, sales to amount, and what is 10? We'll see one by one. When you write a DAX function, first you write the name of the measure that you are going to create over here. This is the name of the measures that you are going to create. Thereafter, we use some operators. You can see the equal sign is my operator. Then we use some function. This is a function, and you can use any functions, like you can use average, you can use max function, you can use minimum function. We have so many functions available in DAX, so we can use functions as per the need and as per the requirements. Thereafter, we have to choose on which table, on which queries we are just going to apply this aggregate function. So here, this is the name of the table that represents, and within this table we have to specify on which column you are going to apply this aggregate functions. So we are going to apply this aggregate functions on the sales amount. So this is my field or this is my column. Again, suppose if I want to increase the total sales by 10, again I need to use some operators. This is the operators, right, that we have used, and this is the value or the constant that I have used on the DAX operation. So this is what the DAX function is all about, and the combination of all these stuffs like functions, operators, field columns, constant, and values, right? And going forward, we will be seeing all these date and time functions. We have this much DAX functions. We will cover every DAX functions one by one. Again, we have logical functions, we have aggregate functions, we have relationship function, we have text functions, we have filter functions, and these are the time intelligence functions, which is very, very important for any Power BI developers. So we will see everything. I think that's all for today, guys. I hope you have understood and you have a clarity about the DAX function. In our next session, we will start applying this DAX function in our projects and in order to do some aggregate calculations. Keep learning, keep watching my videos, keep supporting me. Thanks for watching. See you in the next videos.